Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 50 craziest facts about every US state. I have already reacted to part 1, so this is basically just a part 2 reaction. So basically 25 craziest facts. But yeah, we're going to jump into this, hopefully you're going to enjoy. And let's see some random things about the 25 states that we haven't seen so far.
Montana has stunning landscapes, beautiful scenery, and some of the most insane weather in the country. The state is home to the biggest temperature change ever recorded. From January 14th to January 15th, 1972, in Loma, the temperature rose from negative 54 degrees Fahrenheit, 47 below Celsius, to 49 degrees Fahrenheit.
How is that possible? How can the temperature change so much in the space of 24 hours?
9.4 degrees Celsius, an overnight difference of 103 degrees. While nothing quite compares to the extreme weather event of 1972, Montana frequently experiences dramatic temperature swings. Its inland location means there's no nearby ocean to moderate the climate, and the state is exposed to a mix of Arctic, Pacific, and Gulf air masses, all of which can cause rapid and unpredictable changes in temperature. However, the biggest temperature increases are usually caused by Chinook winds, warm, dry winds that flow down the eastern slopes of the Rockies and can cause the temperature to rise by tens of degrees within a matter of hours. Nebraska. The Ogallala Aquifer lies under almost the entire state of Nebraska, with the exception of the state's
I don't even know what that is. Is it like fresh water?
southeastern point. The rest of its land is over one of the largest aquifers in the world. Ogallala expands across 8 states, from South Dakota to Texas. But despite what some people think, an aquifer isn't some kind of underground lake. Instead, it's an area of saturated sediment that has water stored within it, water that can then be drawn out to be used above ground. One of the reasons the US's Great Plains states are able to support huge, thriving farms in the first place.
Oh, damn.
Nevada. Nevada is the driest state in the US, with 10.3 inches, 26 centimeters of precipitation per year, narrowly beating out Arizona, which gets a couple more inches of rain. Southern Nevada sees even less rain than that, with an average of 7.1 inches, 18 centimeters per year.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because it is Nevada, but just thinking about that is mad. How little rain there is here.
Perhaps explaining why this part of the state is mostly desert. In fact, 85% of the state is either considered desert or arid land. New Hampshire. According to Guinness World Records, the fastest surface wind ever recorded anywhere in the world was a 231 mile an hour, 372 kilometer an hour wind on New Hampshire's Mount Washington, twice as fast as a skydiver plummeting down to Earth belly first. Though this wind speed was recorded on April 12, 1934, conditions haven't changed much over the years. Any hiker who has been up the mountain lately will tell you that the incredibly strong winds on Mount Washington are one of the most challenging aspects of the hike. The mountain gets so windy because of a combination of its elevation, almost 6,300 feet, 1,900 meters, the fact that major storm tracks usually clash into each other here, and a funnel effect from the nearby White Mountains. That's why, even though Mount Washington is far from the tallest peak, it's known as the most dangerous small mountain in the world. New Jersey. New Jersey is a peninsula. No, seriously. While most people think of states like Florida and Alaska or Michigan when thinking of peninsula states, or in the case of Michigan, 2 peninsula states, New Jersey usually gets overlooked. And why wouldn't it? At first glance, it looks like its west side is just sitting there, cozying up to Pennsylvania. But on closer inspection, you'll see a river flowing between the 2 states, the Delaware River. So that means New Jersey has the Atlantic Ocean on the east side and most of its south side, and the Delaware River and Delaware Bay bordering the rest, meaning only its north side is fully connected to the rest of the US mainland.
Oh, damn.
New Mexico. White Sands National Park.
It's basically an island. Basically, because it's not, but that's pretty fascinating.
Has some of the coolest dunes in the country, and we mean that literally. The park is actually the world's largest gypsum dune field, giving it its white, snowy appearance that has made the area.
I would love to go to like a dune like this. It would be so cool. Like, because you don't get anything like this in the UK at all. Like, you get sand dunes on some coasts, to be fair, but like something like this, not a chance. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool to just go to one of these.
Area famous on Instagram. In fact, the gypsum is so white that it doesn't absorb any heat at all, meaning even when temperatures in New Mexico are scorching at above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius, the dunes are completely cool to the touch.
That must be so satisfying. Like you're in this like extreme heat, and then you can just go here to help yourself cool down a little bit. I don't know if it works like that, but it would feel pretty cool, because obviously like when you're at the beach and the sand, like when it's really hot and the sand's really hot, it's not the nicest feeling. But the fact that the sand here would be cool is pretty mad.
New York. Your compass will stop working in the Adirondack Mountains. If you want to be old school when trekking through the mighty Adirondacks, navigating with a compass pointing north, you might be disappointed and end up walking in circles. The Adirondacks have huge deposits of iron ore, which interfere with magnetic fields as well as magnetite, the most magnetic of all naturally occurring minerals on the planet, meaning that your compass will start turning every which way when you wander around the mountains. Better to get a satellite GPS, or a friend who knows the area well. North Carolina.
Damn.
North Carolina is home to the oldest river in North America, the oddly named New River. This river flows for 340 miles, 547 kilometers from the Blue Ridge Mountains in the state all the way northwest into Virginia and West Virginia. It's part of the Appalachian Mountain Basin, one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. Many scientists believe that the New River is even older than the mountains around it, having been created between 260 million and 325 million years ago, and simply rising up with the mountains as they formed. While no one is 100% sure why in the world it's called the New River now, one story says that the explorers who found it in 1671, not having seen it before, simply noted down that it was new on their map. Everyone who saw it was basically too lazy to think of something else, so the name stuck.
Fair.
North Dakota. You can walk around Canada at North Dakota's International Peace Garden. The 2,300-acre, 931-hectare park and gardens sits right on the 49th parallel, in this case, the border between Manitoba Province and North Dakota. Both Canadians and Americans can enter on either side and walk around the area, even meeting up with friends from across the border. On the North Dakota side,
sweet.
you'll encounter a U.S. Customs and Border Protection station that will check your papers. The garden is supposed to represent the friendly relationship between the U.S. and Canada. Ohio. People go fossil picking at Cedar Creek State Park in Ohio, one of the easiest places to find fossils in the country, as many of them are just fully exposed and lying around. That's because the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers constructed a dam from 1971 to 1977 that ended up exposing a lot of the area's limestone, which contains a lot of fossils. That being said, you can't just pick up any fossil. You have to have a permit, and there are specific areas designated for fossil collecting. You also can't keep anything larger than the size of your hand. Oklahoma. Oklahoma has the distinction of being the tornado capital of the world, an honor no one else really wants. Though the famous Tornado Alley extends over northern Texas, Kansas, Colorado, Nebraska, and South Dakota, Oklahoma gets by far the most tornado activity per year. The state gets an average of 68 tornadoes annually, though in 2024 it experienced 91 tornadoes, mostly between the months of March to May. Though other states like Texas got more tornadoes that year, Oklahoma is known as the tornado capital because it lies at the heart of Tornado Alley, and the strongest tornadoes tend to hit here. Oregon. Though it's located in the famously rainy and heavily forested Pacific Northwest, Oregon actually has over 24,000 square miles, 62,000 square kilometers of desert, known as the Central Oregon High Desert. Beginning at the eastern base of the Cascades and stretching east and south, the area is around 4,000 feet, 1,200 meters in elevation. The Cascades are actually the reason the Oregon Desert is so dry compared to the rest of the state. The mountains create a rain shadow, keeping most of the rain that comes in from the Pacific coast over the mountains and preventing it from moving east past their high peaks. Though the landscape here might not.
I do find it mad that mountains can do that. Like, I guess it makes sense, but it's just weird that the rain will just basically not hit this area because of the mountain range. Just mental to me.
Have sand dunes or other typical desert features, it does qualify due to precipitation, and it's made up mostly of shrubland. Pennsylvania. The ground Pennsylvania sits on resembles Swiss cheese more than solid rock. This is due both to the state's history of mining, which opened up tunnels under several parts of the state, and the natural limestone that sits underneath other parts, which is prone to sinkholes. Sinkholes have swallowed up rows of front yards, entire houses, even people. Some missing persons cases, like that of Elizabeth Pollard, have been solved after their bodies were found dozens of feet underground in newly opened sinkholes.
What the fuck?
Rhode Island. Not only is Rhode Island the tiniest state in the country, but 33% of it is water. That makes it the third wateriest state in the Union, behind Michigan and Hawaii. However, Rhode Island's size, combined with the large portions of the state covered by water and its long, irregular coastline, has limited the kind of growth seen in other New England states. Its capital, Providence, has a population of 190,000 people. And establishing big urban or industrial zones, or even great infrastructure like rail lines and highways, is almost impossible because of the state's carved-up geography. So Rhode Island seems destined to remain a more peaceful state than most, something its many yacht owners probably prefer. South Carolina. There's a ghost town underneath the waters of Lake Jocassee in South Carolina. The lake was created in 1973 when the Jocassee Dam was built to generate hydroelectric power in the area. Before the flooding, many artifacts were dug up from the historic Cherokee Nation's Jocassee town to be saved from the town's submersion. Today, divers can explore the remains of the town, including Mount Carmel Cemetery, featured in the movie Deliverance.
What the hell? So this is like the real life Atlantis. Obviously it's under a lake or whatever, but still, that's pretty cool.
Before it found itself underwater. And the historic Atakula
I wish we could get some images of it under the water.
Lodge, a well-known old hotel in the area, which is now 300 feet, 91 meters underwater.
Oh, it's so deep underwater.
South Dakota. Gold mines are usually associated.
Wait, what's it called? Let me just search it up. Is it Jocassee Dam? I don't know if that's how it's spelled, but Jocassee Dam town underwater. I want to see this, man. Is it gonna creep me out? Oh, that is quite creepy. Oh yeah, because it's obviously a graveyard just underwater. Oh god, that is quite eerie actually. This doesn't want to load, does it? There's not really it doesn't really show much, but I guess it's just like this sort of stuff. Well, that's actually quite that's quite cringy. Oh, you got a skeleton. What? Okay, that's just an edit, isn't it? I assume it is. Bro, that's weird, man. I don't like that at all. Oh god, that's so... Why did I search it up? Oh, that's yeah, fuck that.
Associated with the Wild West, but the largest and deepest gold mine ever operated in the US was the Homestake Gold Mine in Lead, South Dakota. From 1876 to 2002, 40 million ounces, 1.1 billion grams of gold were extracted from the mine. Today, visitors can check out the history of the mine at the visitor center. There's still work going on in the mine, but of a very different kind. Scientists work tirelessly on experiments with neutrinos and dark matter here at the Sanford Underground Research Facility, which is the deepest scientific research facility in the country. Tennessee. Though not as huge as the national parks of the western U.S., Tennessee's Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most visited park in the United States. Not only does it get the most visitors, but the difference in tourism with the rest of the country's national parks isn't even close. For example, in 2024, Great Smoky Mountains National Park received over 12 million visits. The second most visited park, Zion National Park, received only 4.9 million visits, just over 1/3 of the visitors who saw the Great Smoky Mountains. Texas. You probably knew Texas was big, but did you know it's larger than any country in Europe? We don't just mean it's larger
Other
than
than Russia,
some country. There's not a single European country that outdoes Texas for size.
Whoa.
Granted, that's assuming we're counting Russia as part of Asia, as the majority of its landmass lies there. Ukraine is the largest country found entirely within Europe and has an area of just over 233,000 square miles, 603,000 square kilometers. Texas, on the other hand, has an area of almost 269,000 square miles,
Mate,
almost
it
700,000
dwarfs it.
square kilometers, making it around 36,000 square miles, 93,000 square
It's pretty mad. It is pretty mad that Europe has so many small countries, but then there's so many I don't know, so many different countries that are next to each other. That I guess a lot of them are doing quite well, or whatever. Like, it's just mad. It is actually such a small continent. So I don't know how it led to it, doing what it did over the years to come. Because if Ukraine is the biggest country, the biggest country in the continent, and then it's this much smaller than Texas, I just find that pretty crazy, to be honest.
kilometers larger. That means the difference between Texas and Ukraine is just over the size of the entire island of Ireland.
Mate,
Utah.
what the
If
hell?
you can't save up enough money to get on a future flight to Mars, you can get an idea of what the red planet would look like in the canyonlands around Hanksville, Utah. Several scientists have used the area to test out equipment and cameras for Mars missions. The landscape and its soil are so similar to what you would find on the red planet that the area makes for a good practice field. Marjorie Chan, a professor of geology at the University of Utah, took the comparison one step further. She doesn't just think Mars and southern Utah look similar, but that they actually formed in very similar ways. As she says, we think that many of the same processes and some of the same environments that we can see exposed in southern Utah are probably similar to some of the environments on Mars. Vermont. Though you may expect to find big marble quarries in the Mediterranean or other areas famous for their monuments, the largest underground marble quarry in the world is actually in Danby, Vermont. Called the Danby Quarry, of course, it has been operating since 1903, with thousands of workers extracting marble that formed in the area hundreds of millions of years ago. Today, the famous Danby marble has been used.
What forms marble, by the way? I don't actually know. What is it that forms marble?
In several notable buildings, including the New York Public Library, the UN Building, the Supreme Court, and the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Virginia. The eastern shore of Virginia is separated from the rest of the state by the Chesapeake Bay. To get to the counties of Accomack and Northampton, which sit right on the Atlantic Ocean, you have to cross the 17.6-mile, 28-kilometer-long Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Before 1964, you had to take a ferry. This 70-mile-long, 113-kilometer section of the state is part of the Delmarva Peninsula and connected to Maryland. So why is it part of Virginia? Because when the British carved out Maryland from the, at the time, colony of Virginia, they insisted on keeping just the tip of the peninsula in Virginia.
Fair
Washington.
enough.
Washington has an archipelago known as the San Juan Islands. The weird part is, how many islands you find there depends on the tide. The official consensus says that there are 176 islands and reefs in the San Juan Island chain, with only a few dozen of them inhabited, and public ferries taking people to only 4: San Juan, Orcas, Lopez, and Shaw. However, at low tide, as many as 743 islands and reefs surface in the Puget Sound between Washington and Vancouver Island. That's because the tidal range around the islands is relatively large, with an average difference of 10 feet, 3 meters between high tide and low tide, and many parts of the archipelago are just below sea level. West Virginia. Although it's a landlocked state, West Virginia has at least 32 islands in the Ohio River alone. In fact, a lot of these islands have served as a refuge for the wildlife on them, as they remain relatively protected from hunting and anyone encroaching on their environment there. Some islands are inhabited and developed. Wheeling Island has a whole casino on it. Others just have a house or two. Either way, swimming out to river islands is a fun pastime for many West Virginians. Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, you can see rock formations that are older than life on Earth. And we don't just mean human life. we mean any life
What?
at all, aside from bacteria. The stones at Devil's Lake State Park are made of Baraboo quartzite and are around 1.5 billion years old, making them one of the oldest rock formations on the continent. Since the first land plants appeared on Earth during the Cambrian period about 500 million years ago, this makes parts of the Baraboo Range about 3 times older than them. And last but not least, Wyoming. Maybe it's a good thing that not too many people live in Wyoming, as the northwestern part of the state sits on top of a supervolcano. The Yellowstone caldera, the thing that fuels a lot of the tourist attractions in Yellowstone National Park, like the Old Faithful geyser and hot springs found throughout the area, is 30 by 45 miles, 50 by 70 kilometers large. It has erupted at least 3 times in the last couple of million years. One of the eruptions was so devastating that it covered half the North American continent in ash. The good news? The volcano is now dormant. The bad news? It's not extinct, meaning it's still active, so there's a possibility of a future eruption. But not to worry. Scientists are monitoring Yellowstone's activity and say there's nothing to be afraid of, for now. Thanks for joining me today.
For now. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, hey, there we go. That's part 2 of the fact video. Did I read the comments after the first one? I don't know. Fun fact, it's only 7.7 miles from Intercourse, PA to Blue Ball, PA. What the fuck? That's a funny comment. That's so dumb. Oh my days. There's also a town nearby called Bird in Hand. Chinook is pronounced Chinook, not Chinook. Can you imagine the uproar in Charlotte, North Carolina, if outsiders said the residents live in Charlotte and not Charlotte? I don't know what's going on. I feel really tired for some reason. I don't know why. Oklahoman here, yes, tornadoes are like distant relatives here, the kind you see against your will. Honestly, half of us would probably invite one in for dinner if it showed up at the front porch. Fairs. But yeah, there we go. There's some random facts. To be fair, there were some pretty cool facts here. Like, a lot of the times now, because I've done so many sort of geography fact videos, you don't really find out much like new stuff, but I feel like I actually got a bit of information here that I've not seen, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.